The Democrats are shattering. The political left is literally beginning to split apart right before our very eyes. And no one exemplifies that partisan fracturing more than Bill Maher. Over the weekend, Maher shocked his fellow Democrats by not only throwing Kamala Harris under the bus, but excoriating the whole of the Democratic Party. And I'm going to show you precisely why, in losing the likes of Bill Maher, the Democratic Party is destined to implode. But first, here's what Maher had to say in terms of what could help bumbling Biden in 2024.
Could see is replacing the vice president because... yeah, she's just not very popular anywhere.
Now stop. Did you notice something huge right there? What happened? Did you notice it? It wasn't just Bill Maher, a years-long faithful Democrat throwing Kamala under the bus. What was it? The audience applauded. The audience clapped. They seconded his proposal to get rid of Kamala. What Maher's tapping into here in his rejection of Kamala Harris is obviously a growing sentiment among Democrats, not to mention getting rid of Biden himself, by the way. The most recent poll from Lang Research found that only 35% of Democrats want Biden to run again in 2024. Nearly 60% want someone else to run. And again, gang, these are Democrats. And you just heard them applauding. But for Kamala, it only goes downhill from there.
And it didn't seem to work out. And I don't know, that's been done before on a ticket, you know? I mean, a lot of people...
Tulsi Gabbard, remember, that was that moment in the debate where she brought up that there are men and women in California that are in prison for these, pot deals. And then she was laughing about getting high on the radio station. And it was just like Tulsi Gabbard was like this heat-seeking missile. That was the end of it. She's got a lot of, in addition to being, for some reason, an off-putting person, she also has, I think, a lot of baggage that probably wouldn't do well under a lot of scrutiny.
I just think she's a bad politician. And I don't.
Wow. For some reason, she's rather off-putting person, isn't she? Or she's a bad politician. Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her in the primary debate. It's all true. And you'll notice again, you're not getting any hint of a pushback from the liberal audience, not a semblance of protest. And this despite the fact that Kamala has gotten the single most adoring, fawning media coverage imaginable. I'm sure many of you heard about the absurdity of what she said in response to the devastation caused by Hurricane Ian. But if you haven't, here it is.
It is our lowest income communities and our communities of color that are most impacted by these extreme conditions and impacted by issues that are not of their own making. And so absolutely. And so we have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities and do that work.
So now hurricanes are racist and sexist. Hurricanes disproportionately affect people of color and women. You heard it yourself. And of course, conservative media, they're pushing back on that. But you're not hearing a shred of scrutiny from the mainstream media. And gang, that's why in researching and gathering the information you need to help you think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent and increasingly woke times. That's why I can honestly say that I rely on no one more than the amazing reporting and informationally rich resources at the Epoch Times. The Epoch Times specializes in reporting on news stories that are important to you. News stories that the mainstream media purposely ignores. They focus on clear, fact-based journalism without spin or hidden agendas, precisely because they actually trust you, their discerning readers, to arrive at your own conclusions. Imagine that. They're like an information treasure trove, and that's why they're a daily go-to resource for me, and they need to be for you as well. And they want to prove it to you for a very limited time. They have a special offer just for you, just for my audience. If you click on that link below for a limited time, you could subscribe to the Epoch Times for an entire 2 months for just $1. How's that for a gift? You're going to love them, gang. I couldn't recommend a news resource more highly. Click on that link below and subscribe to them today. All right, so Maher wasn't through. He sees Kamala as a symptom of something far deeper and more sinister in the Democratic Party.
Here's the problem with the Democratic Party. They're so boxed in by identity politics that you cannot conceive of a Democratic ticket that doesn't have a woman, person of color on it, and pretty soon you're going to line up behind that gay, Latino, and you're going to have, you know, a deaf Eskimo.
That's right, a deaf Eskimo. Cancel him! Cancel him! Greta, where are you?
How dare you?
Yeah, that's right. On behalf of all deaf Eskimos, how dare you? But the point he was making there, and unfortunately got a bit sidetracked with the discussion that ensued with his guest, but the point that Maher was making there is that identity politics, the notion that social justice requires reinterpreting individuals as members of victimized groups who are in turn given political priority, just like we heard Kamala Harris saying that communities of color should be given priority in federal assistance in the wake of Hurricane Ian. In other words, if you are not a member of a politically designated victimized group, then you have to go to the end of the line. And you know that you're a member of a left-wing defined victimized group by the color of your skin, your gender, your sexual orientation. So Maher is saying that that kind of identity politics has not only taken over the Democratic Party, it will in the end shatter the Democratic Party. And we have evidence for that. This is coming from data compiled by University of London scholar Eric Kaufman, where he draws from a number of surveys that all show the same thing. When you ask Democrats if they support some identity politics agenda, like do you support CRT being taught in our schools or transgender athletes competing in women's sports, the answer generally splits down the middle. About 50% say yes, another 50% say no. So, for example, you could see precisely where Maher would be. Maher would have answered no, while at least one of his panelists would have answered yes. But when you ask Republicans the exact same questions, what's their answer? It ain't just a no. It's a resounding hell no. So what identity politics are doing is they're splitting the left and they're uniting the right. In other words, the right is far more likely to vote against identity politics than the left is to vote for it. That's why identity politics ultimately are splitting the Democrats and uniting the Republicans, which means that Bill Maher may indeed be the canary in the coal mine. He and many other liberals are not just throwing Kamala Harris under the bus, but the Democratic Party as a whole. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on a Trump donor taking over CNN, all as the GOP is poised to take over the Senate. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.